And welcome in everybody to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it's one of your favorite places to check out podcasts later on in the week. Is the last Wednesday in May, so we got ourselves a fun episode as May showers come after April flowers. Or wait, April flowers bring May showers. April showers bring May flowers. There we go. But either way, it is joined as always by my co-host Kelcey, who will for sure be getting his analogies much better off than I have so far.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. Better off, I don't know about that, but I do know it's still raining here, so I don't think you were wrong with the first method. I've been getting a lot of showers lately, and it's not because I'm taking them in the morning. I am, but then I'm also getting them as I go to work, as I go for lunch, as I come back from lunch, as I go home, and everything in between. So yeah, that sounds about right. But you know what's not raining? The fact that sports is still happening, which is year round. It's just what it is. I guess it is
No,
raining sports, but you know what? Screw it. We'll go with it. Analogy
yeah.
works anyways.
It's raining here too, but it's not raining on our parade, but it is raining on the parade of a couple of teams in the NBA conference finals, which is going to lead us into the first part of our show. The tip off brought to you by our good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code Belly of Sports for $20 off your first purchase. Concerts, comedy shows, sporting events, whatever you need tickets for, Belly of Sports, get yourself $20 off your initial purchase. And as we mentioned, the NBA conference finals are 4 games in a piece, and well, we got 2 teams down 3-1. The Knicks down 3-1 Pacers after some heartbreaking win against for the Pacers, but then some heartbreaking losses, just pure chaos in that series from tip to top to bottom. OKC, Minnesota, kind of a story of blowouts in the middle, or it's a couple of blowouts in there, then a couple of razor thin ones. Kelcey, what do we think here? Do either one of these teams have a chance to pull a 2016 Cavs or 2016 Warriors for that matter? Let's not forget about that Western Conference. But either one of these teams have a chance at climbing themselves out, which at the moment, by the time you listen to this, one of them might have already been eliminated. So there is a chance.
Yeah.
But do you think there's a chance either one of these teams could survive this?
I, barring major injury, I don't think so. I think one of them can pull a game back at least, but I'd like to see both of them pull one game back, maybe pull 2 back. I'd like to see a game 7, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to overcome 3-1. The way OKC's playing, the way Indiana's playing right now, it's wow. You go down the line, look, we talked about this last week. I don't get the whole SGA free throw merchant thing. People just don't understand how the game is refereed today, and it's refereed exactly how SGA plays. Like SGA has geared his game to succeeding in today's day and age, and I'm tired of going on Twitter and seeing all the Timberwolves fans saying, "Oh, free throw merchant. Oh, he's really winning because of the refs. Oh man, how terrible is this?" It's like, whoa, come on, let's calm down here. The guy is still dicing you up, and half the games you pull him out, and guess what? You still lose. So it doesn't matter, free throw merchant or not. Get over it. There's a free throw merchant on the other side for the Knicks in the Knicks Pacers series, who for the Knicks, he is not saving the series for him right now. And that's tough to see for Jaylen Brunson. He's had a great season. Cat's had a great season. Just, leave the comments alone on that one, Knicks fans. Calm down. He got you to the playoffs. He got you to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're going to do this? Come on. Knicks fans don't deserve a good team. But this is it's a crazy thing.
Out of this, he deserves a good team. Everyone else maybe, but Spider-Man, he gets one.
Yeah, Spider-Man deserves it. Everybody else now, forget about it. The fact that you guys are dissing Cat and dissing Jaylen the way you are, that come on, calm down. Let's pump the brakes here. But I look, OKC, the Pacers, small markets are here. They've been here for a while. Stop complaining, everybody. They're still a top 50 market in the U.S. This is one of those series where you just applaud everything you're seeing. And I go back on what I said before when we talked about whether there'll be blowouts in this series. Yeah, there's blowouts, turns out. So go figure that half the games for each side would be blowouts. So yeah, can't do anything about that.
By the way, I immediately got a comment saying too that Timothy Chalamet was not Spider-Man. I know I should have put a comma, Timothy Chalamet, comma, Spider-Man, because so that was my mistake. I know Timothy Chalamet is Lisan Al-Gaib. I get it. I've seen Dune. I understand. So let's get that.
Poor guy. You can't not even saying his name right. That's the poor Timothy Chalamet.
Chalamet. You know what? My point remains.
He shouldn't have a French name if he's going to be a Knicks fan. That's what I.
Lisan Al-Gaib, but not Spider-Man. So let's get that comment out of the way. But one thing Knicks fans should be complaining about slightly is the whistle in the fourth quarter in game 4 because that with the exception of Karl Anthony Towns, he's still the ultimate king of stupid fouls. I don't get it. What is he thinking? There were some questionable ones other ways, you're still losing the game regardless. So I don't wanna hear anything about fouls even though that whistle was a little sketch at points in that fourth quarter. You still shouldn't have been in this point in the first place. You shouldn't have let Aaron Naismith hit 6 threes in a quarter to when you're up by a million in game 1. So, I would say the Knicks have a chance, but they're just built very weirdly, and they don't defend very well, surprisingly. For a Tom Thibodeau coach team as well, like, Mikal Bridges is a good defender, but not quite as good as I think was initially advertised, like, he's fine. Jalen Brunson, we already know he's, like, 5'4", so he's not guarding anybody. Like, that's not expected. Karl Anthony Towns, for some reason, went from outstanding college defender to foul merchant, but as a fouling merchant in the NBA, he's the one doing the fouling, not attracting them. He'll give you a 20-point quarter, then have to sit or a 20-point first quarter, and then have to sit till the fourth quarter. He ends up with 5 fouls before it in that same quarter. Makes no sense. They just weirdly don't defend that well. I don't and when the Pacers get running, we already know that the Pacers avalanche that they caused. So that one's I don't it's a tough way. They'd have to hope maybe Haliburton goes on a very cold streak and Aaron Naismith doesn't play anymore, which his ankle looks fine, by the way. And then Miles Turner decides to go build some Legos instead for 3 games. Like, there's a lot of factors that have to come into play. Pascal Siakam would have to go back and play for Toronto for a week. Like, there's a lot of things they need to try and come back in this series. And then Minnesota's really good, but OKC's clearly a different animal. Like, they are clearly head and shoulders above everybody right now, and they're showing it. They almost got 100 points from their main 3. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and SGA in the last game with a almost 40-point triple-double from SGA, and that's against Minnesota getting 60 from their bench. Even when you get 60 from your bench, those big 3 are like, "No, no, no. We're gonna go to the finals. We're gonna take care of this right now." So, I don't see it, but then again, I didn't see it in 2016 against the 73-9 Warriors. So, anything is clearly possible. But I there's a in the similar vein, there's a very, very small margin of error for those teams to make that comeback, and neither one has a LeBron James in his heyday to guide that ship, so I'm gonna say nah. I'm gonna say it's not gonna happen unless Karl Anthony Towns eliminates all fouls from his game for the next week, but he can't even stop that. He can't even get the first quarter without having 2 fouls. So I don't see how it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, look, there is still a guy on one of these series named Ant who I have fought the fact that the guy is becoming a top 10 player for years now, and I've accepted it. He is a top 10 player. He needs to play like a top 10 player, though, going forward. And SGA, I think, is playing like a top 10 player today.
Top 3 player.
And that's like the toughest part of this whole thing. You want Ant to do more, but at the same time, he's running into triple and quadruple teams when he gets in the lane, and then nobody's hitting a shot outside of him. Rudy Gobert has his hand in the cookie jar way too often. I mean, it just goes to show you that defensive player of the year does not mean a good defender every time. It just means he can block the ball from going in the basket when they get into the paint. I'll stand by Rudy Gobert's the most overrated defender ever. If nobody's heard that before from me yet, if you have, hang a dollar on the wall. You'll be a rich man soon. But no, you know what? It's from the Timberwolves standpoint. You question what they're going to do, who's going to step up offensively, because really they're a defensive-minded team. If they can grind it out, they can win it. But they don't seem to be able to grind out. And I say that knowing full well they won a game at 140 points already in this series. But every other game, they need to grind it out. And it seems like they just are too defensive-minded. And unless their whole team steps up, I don't know what's going to happen. And they just got to get off to hot starts. And on the flip side, the Knicks, I mean, you need a Kyrie and LeBron level resurgence from Jaylen and Cat. And you're not getting it. And Mikal Bridges looks like he took the Markelle Fultz, Angel Reese jump shot coach and decided, hey, that's my new coach for now. The moment he left the Suns and became a Net and now a Nick, it's just like he forgot completely his entire jumper because he was shooting well every other place in the NBA, and now all of a sudden doesn't look good. So yeah, I don't know what they can do, but man, it's going to take a miracle.
One thing that's part of the reason they found themselves down 3-1 is the emergence of a certain player that is near and dear to both of our hearts, but especially Kelcey's, Tyrese Haliburton, who you can go back to the draft too. On one of the early renditions of the show, we lived in Iowa at the time, so we got to see Iowa State Tyrese Haliburton. I called it the second best pick in the draft, behind I believe is Evan Mobley that year. So obviously, I know that not including the number 1 overall pick there as well, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as a value pick to get Haliburton at that point, obviously, as a Kings fan, he was near and dear to your heart as well, which almost made sense to let him go for De'Aaron Fox, but then you trade De'Aaron Fox, so the Kings forever hurting you deep down in your soul, but at this point, we kinda teased it a few weeks ago when we talked about it, but is it safe to put Tyrese Haliburton in that top 12, top 15 players? He's also that traditional point guard, the one that we talk about a lot that just really kind of leads the way, that sort of thing too, runs the offense. So is it safe to put Tyrese Haliburton in that top 12, 15 players range? Because I may willing to make the case he might be number 10.
I, right now, like if we just go by season, I think yeah, it's safe to say in the league today, I still think there are more talented players than to put him up there. But he's an emerging young superstar. If we put him in the star rankings, like you know how there's a superstar ranking, which is your LeBrons, your Stephs, your KDs. These guys are superstars. You have your Ant approaching superstar level, SGA approaching superstar level. Um, but then you have your stars who are your Cats, your Jaylens, your Halliburtons, your Wemby at this point in time. I don't think he's fully gone into superstar, whereas like Luka and Jokic are superstars. Giannis is a superstar, but you put him in that star ranking, which is like maybe not top 10, 12, but it's like 12 to 20 in that range, maybe 12 to 25. As far as best players in the league go, talent-wise, he has the opportunity. But best player this season, and especially right this moment, the dude's not 5, he's not 4, he's not 3, as far as the conversation goes, as best player in the playoffs left. He is probably number 2 with SGA as number 1, and then you have Ant at number 3 just looking at him like, but I just can't win a game. Sorry, guys. And I think that's the difference. Whenever Haliburton is taking, I want more of it. Whether it's his dad talking trash to Giannis, I don't know what set him off, what he's starting to do. This is a guy that looks like he's playing like Steve Urkel did when he was a dominant basketball player for all of one episode. He's doing that, but he's actually doing it on the NBA level and looking fantastic. He's hitting what should have been a game-winning 3, but his toe was on the line. And we talked about it on the show. We talked about there's going to be a choking moment at some point in time in this, and lo and behold, it was that day, that same game. He just did it too early, and it's been a fantastic run for Haliburton, and his shot making, his passing ability, his vision. It's been second to none in a lot of ways. His defense has even gotten even better, and that's what's scary is when he's defending, he can easily set up a break, and his passes aren't going to miss going the other way. And oh, by the way, he can step into a 3 and knock it down with the best of them. He's taking heat checks from a logo like regularly and drilling them. It's at this point in time, I don't know I don't know how you guard him if you're the Wolves. I don't know who you can send out there because there's still more weapons on that team you have to guard. And I don't know who's going to defend him and defend him well because right now you don't have an answer outside of Ant, and Ant can't defend him because he has 7 other guys to go defend. So yeah, figure it out if you're the Wolves. But Haliburton has been fantastic.
I saw the Knicks try to throw Jaylen Brunson at him, that didn't work. They tried to throw OG Anunoby at him, that didn't work. They tried to throw Mikal Bridges at him, that didn't work. They didn't want to, but Mitchell Robinson ended on one point, and that didn't work either. So I don't know what they could do other than just kind of hope his shot is off or that he's being a little bit passive. That's kind of the only thing you could really hope for. I would make the case that outside of LeBron, he might be the best passer in basketball right now. Maybe there's obviously Luke up there. Like there are some good passers, but the way
I don't know
he
if he's that. I don't
goes
know if he's even number 2 in the passing category right now.
I'll still give it to LeBron because he has a lifetime of work of being an elite passer, and I think if you had focused on it, he could have been very Magic Johnson-esque as a point guard. But the point is that he's in that conversation as far as just a passer, and we've seen the shot making and the creativity at a whole new level in this playoff run. They're 12-3 at this point. If they win Game 5, they will be at 12-3 heading into the 4-8, 12-3 heading into the NBA Finals, which is absolutely insanity. That's the Thunder had more losses against the Nuggets than they would have had, or had the same amount of losses against the Nuggets as they've had the entire playoff run. Incredible performance. I'm willing to put him in like that 10 to 12 range because what he does, you can't really measure it as well against other guys. Like, oh, this guy shoots better, more points, whatever. They don't have a full team built kind of around him to run like that. The way they're built, it's not Rick Carlisle's idea for them to run like they're the Richmond Oilers from Coach Carter. Coach, what do we do in practice? What are we going to do on offense? What'd you do in practice? We ran. That's what you're going to do. That's because of Tyrese Haliburton's ability to catch the ball, and you're immediately in your offense. As soon as Miles Turner gets the ball, Haliburton touches it, they're immediately in their offense. His ability to push the break, not fast, but for some reason, no one can catch him at the same time. It's like what they
Yeah.
used to say about Jerry Rice: "When the ball's in my hand, nobody's catching me." It's kind of the same thing with him. It's very prime Westbrook-esque, but with a touch more but not quite as explosive, I guess. It's very weird how no one can ever catch him and his ability to pass the ball. So I put him in that range and arguably like when we'd rank CP3 back in the day, where he was that very traditional point guard. You'd have him ranked up there, even though it's very, very different. So I'd say this is the case, and if all things hold true and we get a Pacers and a Thunder NBA Finals, I'm looking forward to that chaos because both teams push a heavy pace. Both of them swarm defensively and love the fast break. Who's gonna crack first and who's gonna be able to just take a break and slow things down? Because the Pacers' half court offense is basically Tyrese Haliburton create some wild chaos, or Pascal Siakam be surprisingly awesome and we all forget about it. Where
He's a great number 3, man. He is a great number 3.
might not even be a three, he might be a two on that team, honestly. Like,
Yeah, he's a 3. Miles Turner, I think, is a 2, and as well as like maybe you could say Nemhard or
mm,
so,
there-
there's a combination of guys that are 2, and then Pascal Siakam's like, oh hey guys, you forgot about me. I'm gonna go get 20 now. He's the Tobias Harris of this team.
whoa, hold on now. Pascal Siakam's giving you 40 and 30 in this series. Like, let's take it easy with that now.
Tobias has given people 40 and 30 before too.
He gets that Tobias Harris paycheck is what he should be getting, but
Yeah, that's fair.
what's great, that's all great and Danny for the Pacers, but the downside about that is the Knicks are unfortunately the downside recipients of it. We'll keep this one relatively short and quick. What's their future look like? What do you think they can kind of keep the same team to run it back together, or is there anything you could really see them do to make it change, assuming things hold true and they don't pull a 2016 Caps?
I mean, outside of Jaylen and Cat, we knew this was and Michael Bridges. I think you knew the rest of this team was kind of need some work. We talked about this in the offseason. The big loss is going to be Hartenstein and what he meant to that team. Well, guess what? It's obvious now. The loss of Hartenstein means a lot to that team. You need to have that defensive big in there to help. Obviously, you see what he's doing in OKC. He's standing out. He's making Chet able to be what Chet is, and he could do the same for Cat if he was in New York still. The Knicks need to figure out the big man down low situation. It's like you need a big guy down low. You need a rim protector down low. Cat is not that anymore. He has been that since he was at Kentucky, as we talked about earlier. It's a situation if you're the Knicks, especially for that whole team's mentality. You need a tone setter, and defensive tone setter, because you have the offensive tone setters. You have them. They're there. You just need that defensive tone setter. Or Michael Bridges needs to figure out what he's doing. From Brooklyn to downtown, he just forgot his game somewhere in that 12-mile stretch. I never figured that out. But this team needs to figure it out defensively first. And I think their offense is good. Their offense is going to be good. You just, if you're going to do anything, you got to make a move defensively first. I'm not saying bring Rudy Gobert to New York. Calm down, everybody. But there are talented centers in the league that can protect and can help defensively down low and easily fill that role. I mean, I look at Steven Adams as a merchant when it comes to these type of roles. He would be a perfect fit next to Cat, where you can let him go and bang and go get rebounds. Like that would be a perfect situation if Steven Adams can end up in New York next season. Otherwise, I think the rest of the team looks good. They're getting older for where they need to get older. I mean, this team is still young. Jalen Brunson's the old man on this team. So he's 28. Like, he's not that old here. But yeah, it's a team with a lot to look forward to in the future, but you need to figure out that defensive step, that defensive wall first, I think is your big purpose.
The most weird stat about the series is when you have Brunson and Cat on the court together, they're minus 18. When it's just Brunson, they're like plus 4.5. And when it's just Cat, they're plus 18. So somehow those two, we just talked about their defense, can't work together. So you need that defensive big, but I also think you need a two who can play defense and shoot. OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, whoever it is, like it's really who kind of rotates between the 2, 3, and 4, how they do it. I think one of those guys going to the bench is beneficial. Like I like OG, but he's very limited offensively. I think if you can either get a dynamic second scorer, or if you could just get somebody who could lock up so Jalen Brunson doesn't have to basically try and play defense, so you could try and hide him a little bit. That would be very beneficial too. It obviously can't happen because they don't have the assets, but somebody like Bradley Beal would be very interesting on this team because you could stagger them. I know defensively that does not help things. I'm imploring that they have a defensive big to make up for it, like a Hartstein or something. Then you can add a Bradley Beal as a just somebody else who could create a shot and make a shot. Just something else to add to their offense. They don't have the assets to get anything. That's the problem. They've traded away all their assets to get Bridges and Towns, so now they're kind of stuck here. Because right now it's basically Cat don't foul and somehow get 20 points in a quarter with the zestiest moves in your arsenal. Or Jalen Brunson, please create and save us. Everything else, like you mentioned, is a little bit Kel Bridges very hit or miss. OG's very hit or miss. They don't have a Pascal Siakam in the half court you can really give the ball to consistently. That is supposed to be Cat when he's not in foul trouble. They don't have like the Nemhards and the Naismiths who you could just dish and they could just quickly start cooking from the outside. So a little bit of shooting, I think, will help, and maybe somebody else to just create a shot. But let us know
Yeah,
down in the comment. Oh, good.
I was gonna say, I think Miles McBride has that opportunity, third year guy, going into his fourth year next year. Obviously, this is assuming the Knicks get knocked out. But if that's the case, I think Miles McBride has the opportunity to fill that two role, but it's been hard to kick Josh Hart out of that role because Josh Hart has games where he gives you 20 and 20. And you're like, where did this come from? And then he'll
Their
also
best
kick in 8
rebounder.
assists. Like what's happening? Like Josh Hart is that weird fix all dude. Like I need Josh Hart's random games to go into Michael Bridges, and that way you get a solid Michael Bridges, and you can get a 2 in there and just solidify everything. But yeah, I think Miles McBride has that opportunity going into next year. Speaking of Spider-Man, by the way, if he wants to wear the Miles Morales suit, then yeah, go right ahead. Who, by the way, is this shoulder right here. But
If
anyways,
I can get like 41% from three from Josh Hart, just basically a knockdown shooter off those driving kicks, 90% of what we just talked about is solved too. Then maybe you put in McBride as the starting guard and then have OG come in off the bench, something like that, just to spread the offense, stagger McBride and Jalen Brunson's minutes. Think like Russ into Harden, CP3 Harden, that sort of thing too. So I think there's a path there, but there's some work to be done. And Tom Thibodeau has to play more than 6 guys throughout the entire regular season. You got a bench there. You could dip into it a little bit. I'm not asking you to field a football team of people out there. I just need you to bring in the bench a little bit.
like Landry Shaman's on this team. Like play him.
He's played a little bit in the playoffs, but I mean, we could see there's 82 games you could have let him play until now. But
Yeah.
I think that would
Like
definitely help with the wear and tear.
there's a couple rookies. I believe there's a French rookie that they drafted that is a good rookie. He looked good. You just have to let him play.
Exactly.
Like
You got to play
what are we
these
doing?
guys before the conference finals, and everyone's already tired and worn down or in foul trouble. Cat.
Yeah, it's you play your entire team through the regular season, and then you slim it up in the playoffs. And that way, in case injury in the playoffs, you can move and adjust in the playoffs.
Exactly. You have options, or when you know Cat's going to keep putting his hand in the cookie jar, I'm going to keep complaining about it because it's been like 10 years of this, and he was such a good defender at Kentucky. I don't know what happened. Cat, if you're watching for some reason, please let me know what happened, or don't let, just don't anymore. But
Cat, if you're
anyway,
watching, I'm not sorry for what I said the entire time you were in Minnesota. Play down low more. Look what happens. You play well.
when you're not, fouling out. But anyway, that's enough of me complaining about
Fair.
Cat. We talked about the worry of injury as well. The WNBA is now suffering a major injury as Caitlin Clark is going to be out for 2 weeks with a quad injury. And the reason we're bringing this up specifically is the Clarkonomics effect to this. Obviously, players miss time all the time, but the Sky and the Fever are supposed to play in Chicago in about a week on June 7th. The opening ticket price was $86 because you have the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark showdown that is now box office. Yeah, those tickets are now down to $25. Sorry. Yeah, down to $25 after the injury announcement. And it's supposed to take place in the Bulls Arena, the United Center, as opposed to the normal Wintrust Arena. That's about a 12,000 seat difference, give or take. So, how bad is this going to look now that the Clarkonomics factor is not factoring in? I mean, do you think they're even going to get remotely close to halfway sold out? Or do you think this is going to be rough? I mean, those ticket prices are nice, but there's a reason they dropped 71% in 48 hours.
Yeah. Look, I am a big proponent that both Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have a stake in the game here. But I think it's no secret that Caitlin Clark is responsible for a quarter of the growth of the WNBA statistically. Scientifically speaking, this is data driven. That's not embellishment at all.
I think it's
26,
economically, not scientifically.
mathematically, we'll go with that.
I don't know if I don't know if it occurs in nature, but
It is, well, I mean, it is natural at this point in time. They are both playing, and now it has become a natural phenomenon. But no, you know what? It's 26% of the entire revenue for the WNBA of the growth has been come from Caitlin Clark, and it's hard to look at that and think, oh, this won't be impactful. It will be. They've moved WNBA games like this one into NBA arenas. They do the same for Washington. They do the same across the board, and it's a hard situation to look at and be like, all right, Angel Reese, it's your show now, because that's not fair to Angel Reese. I said this last week. She's not the same. She is equally as recognizable to a degree. I should say equally as recognizable. She is as recognizable as to a degree as Caitlyn is. But to ask her to carry the same load is unfair to what Angel Reese does and what Angel Reese has brought to the game. So I don't think we're going to see a full stadium in this one. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy like that. I think we'll see a good showing, though, because Chicago loves the Sky, and a lot of people still love the Fever. And there's still the people that don't care whether Caitlin Clark's there or not that are still going to show up because they have never seen a WNBA game, and they're like, oh, well, it's on the news all the time. So you're not going to lose as much, but I think you are going to lose a significant amount of last-minute ticket buyers. Or somebody who's maybe naive and just doesn't pay attention to the news and maybe like, oh, I get to go see Caitlyn, and then they're going to go and then she's not there. They're going to complain because she didn't play and it was in this big stadium and it was half empty, and it's going to look bad. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But look, this is still an Indiana Fever team who is still potentially the odds-on favorite for making it to the WNBA Finals to match up with Liberty. So those are two teams that you look at when they go through this entire list, you think, hopefully, even without Caitlin Clark, this Fever team still looks good, still draws box office. They will at Indiana, but can they draw it everywhere else? That's going to be the question. But yeah, it's kind of the Messi effect in a lot of ways. She's not there. What's the point of going to the game in a lot of people's eyes? That's what she's turned into, and that's what social media has turned the game into for fans in a lot of cases. They want to see that one player, and they don't care about the rest of them. But the fact is, that Fever team is fantastic. The Sky team is fantastic. Haley Van Lith, Angel Reese on that Sky team. If they would actually play Haley Van Lith, that's a whole different conversation because she doesn't even get minutes anymore. So yeah, you know what? They have the opportunity to make this not impactful, but they're not going to in 4 days. So that's the unfortunate part.
It's very much the Conor McGregor effect. She had so many of her own fans that then joined the game, just like he had his own fans when he joined the UFC, that spikes things in a way that's almost unfair to compare across the board.
Yeah.
If being box office is one thing, but then Caitlin Clark box office is another. Being UFC box office is one thing, the Conor McGregor box office is another. There are some things you just really can't compare to, and I think that's the unfortunate part too, is she's taken a lot of hits in her year and some change, and they add up a little bit too. So let us know down below how you think that this game's gonna go. But we delayed it long enough. It's about time we head into the reason I'm sure half of the people here are waiting around. We're gonna go and jump right into the main event. And for the main event, we are at the end of May. We're getting ready to head into June, which means it's a great time to start talking fantasy football, right? Because it's getting really close to those draft seasons and those dynasty drafts. We're not gonna do a dynasty draft. We're gonna do our very first fantasy football mock draft of the season. So we're going to go and take a look, as there will be 5 humans and 5 CPUs in this one. So we're going to get a good little mix of things going here, recruiting the help of some of our friends. And ready, Kelcey? We're going to start by randomizing the draft order. Where do you think you're going to end up picking?
Well, I'm currently sitting last, so I'm hoping last, but I'm not going to. I'm going to get first again, is what's going to happen.
Well, let's see how it ends up playing out. And you're going to be picking at third. So, all right. So you are picking at third. We are going to get ready, and we are going to start the draft. Is our good friend Jared from the corner booth is at the top. So, Kelcey, I'm going to start with you. Who do you think is going to go number 1? Never mind, we got the first 2 out of the way, but are you surprised?
No, it should have been Saquon and it should have been Jamar. Those are the 2 easiest answers of everything after that. It's just like my pick is easy. I think I have to go Jay Jettas in this one. This Bijan would be a great pick, but I got to go with the proven guy. That's what it is.
So far, it's been a pretty chalk top 4, but what I do find interesting is since 2016-17, I believe, with Todd Gurley, when these highest scoring running back has been even top 5 the next year. So I'm curious. It's hard to imagine Saquon not being awesome. We said the same thing with Christian McCaffrey last year. Said it the year before with Jonathan Taylor. We say it year in and year out. So I do wonder, A, is he going to repeat as number 1? And B, if he doesn't, who is going to take that mantle? Bijan Robinson has been a favorite. And obviously, same with Jamar Chase with the receivers. We don't see repeat receivers, but it's Jamar freaking Chase at 25 years old with an elite quarterback throwing him the ball. So it's hard not to see those guys up there. And Jay Jettas he's death taxes Jay Jettas.
As long as he has somebody throwing him the ball, as he's proven, it could be literally anybody and he finds a way to get open. But yeah, you know what? It's the Saquon thing. The thing that with Saquon that makes it different than everybody else we've had recently is Saquon. He has touchdowns taken away from him by Jalen Hurts, and it's 18 touchdowns is the difference between. As a Saquon owner last year, I can tell you it's 18 opportunities I had to have 6 more points every week, and I didn't get it. I averaged 1 lost touchdown a week to Jalen Hurts. And so if half of those get converted, well, Saquon immediately becomes a first place draft pick every time, like in 1 of 1 every time. There's no question. If he just can get half of those opportunities, and especially with all the conversations around banning the tush push, maybe it makes Sirianni rethink the whole conversation. And he's like, you know what? Maybe I don't do the tush push as often because I have Saquon back here. Or, God forbid, we do a tush push with Saquon. Make my dreams come true. Well, in this case, Jared's dream come true.
Absolutely. As the clock is wearing down, in that same vein, Jonathan Taylor looks like he might be due, according to our good friend Hector. And if that also involves Anthony Richardson not stealing all of his picks, we do see a timeout. We got CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So pretty chalk picks here. These all make sense to me. Outstanding with CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Jahmyr Gibbs. Obviously, this is Jahmyr. The Jahmyrical Workers was the name of the team last year, so I won't be repeating there. This is where I'm going to shake things up. If I shake things up, I mean, not really that much at all. I'm going to take Malik Neighbors from the Giants. I think he's going to be an incredibly high targeted guy, regardless of who's playing quarterback, whether it is Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, or Russell Wilson. He's going to get a ton of targets. He's explosive. You can move him around. And frankly, who else are they going to throw the ball to? Who else is going to get the ball? He was explosive last year with negative quarterback play. It's only going to go up. So we're going to take Malik Neighbors at pick 7, Amon-Ra at 9, and that brings us now to the swing, the famous 10 to 1 swing, which is arguably some of the favorite positions. Yeah, say the dream position of the draft for many of them, because you hit on both of those, you're cooking with gas.
As much as I hate the number 1 overall pick, I love the last pick of the turn. I love it so much. It's the best way to set your team up because you don't necessarily get the top pick of the first round, but you get the top pick of the second round, which is arguably just as good. You can take whoever you want that you're going to need between the first and third rounds and the first 2 picks. So we have the curse of the draft, right?
Exactly. Our good friend Matt at pick number 5 is unfortunately the swing I was hoping for just failed, as Brock Bowers was the one I had in the queue. So now I got to change my entire strategy really quickly off of a dime. In a very similar to vein to everything that I just said, I'm gonna take Christian McCaffrey as a second round pick. Like I wanted Brock Bowers there because I was gonna monopolize targets, but I'll take CMC as we're right back to you, honestly, as to Thomas, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, and Drake London goes. So a very active second round.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is I don't normally like going with rookies early on, and I've said that before.
However,
I am taking a running back with this pick. I will say that right here and now. It's either Bucky Irving, who is a high opportunity for PPR leagues, or Ashton Genty, who is literally going to get 95% shares. I have a hard time looking anywhere else other than Ashton Genty, honestly. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out of my norm, and I'm gonna go with a rookie here.
I want to add in addition to that too. We do see team number 4 locking. We're gonna call them the Atlanta Falcons right now with Bijan and Drake London. They just grab Kyle Pitts next to that. But like I said, Ashton Genty just feel like he's going to get opportunities. The biggest thing out of all of this, he's just going to be a workhorse if anything else. Like worst case scenario is rookie Trent Richardson, who just got so many opportunities, he still got you 10 touchdowns. So
yeah,
exactly. I feel like he's just going to give you opportunities.
Everything is an opportunity with him. And they're look, I got to go back to Jared's pick for a second here. Ladd McConkey is a underrated wide receiver and needs to be loved more. I was able to pick him up in waivers last year, and I loved every moment of it. Jalen Hurts right after that is a great turn for him, especially expecting
from the Eagles. He's getting those red zone touchdowns.
Yeah, he's getting touchdowns for the Eagles, and that's the best handcuff you can take. If you're going to have Saquon, you also probably need to get Jalen. Now, for me, I do have a running back. I have a wide receiver. I could take Bucky Irving, who I was just applauding, but I'm not going to because I won't get a chance at a quarterback that I really like unless I take him here. And I'm going with Josh Allen yet again, who continues to be the leading rusher for quarterbacks to score touchdowns since he's entered the league. So I'm going to keep taking that, and I'm going to keep riding those because those count as more than a passing touchdown in a lot of cases for quarterbacks. Plus, oh, by the way, he continues to throw rockets downfield.
And there's the question of James Cook with the contract situation. Is that going to lead to even more Josh Allen touchdowns somehow if possible? So tons of opportunities for there. Regularly a top 2 fantasy scoring quarterback since he's entered it. We do see team 4 is the NFC South. Tyreek Hill and Jonathan Taylor and Jaden Daniels go ahead next, leading right up to me. So once again, the CPU sniping the Jonathan Taylor. I had it in the queue, so we'll be calling an audible once again. Looking at the field of play here, let's take a look. Running backs, there are some good options here. Nobody I'm quite ready to pull the trigger on. Tight ends, Trey McBride looks like fun here, but I don't really want to take him in round 3. Receivers, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to take a flyer on Garrett Wilson. A little bit high and a little bit rich for a lot of people's taste, but Justin Fields can throw to receiver 1. Out of all things he could do, he could throw to receiver 1. So I think he's going to get chances, and he's produced with Zach Wilson, the ghost of Aaron Rodgers, Tim Boyle, at everybody in between. So I feel pretty comfortable with Garrett Wilson. We see Lamar and Sam Laporta round out the round.
Yeah, I will say I was surprised you didn't take Lamar. As a Lamar fan, it's hard for me to watch him go past everybody else as I took Josh Allen, but instead of Lamar. But look, we're playing fantasy here. I know what I'm doing.
I thought I could get him on the swing. Honestly. I thought maybe I had a better chance. Like I was hoping I could get Jonathan Taylor than Jaden Daniels on the swing, but unfortunately, the CPU not only didn't let me have one of them, it let me have none of them. So
yeah,
as we come back,
I do have to ask this. Well, after you make your pick, you can answer this one. But as we look at the board, 3 Lions players off the board already, and you have to wonder. It's been 3 seasons. They've just lost their OC. Are they going to continue to be as good? And that's why I don't like the idea of taking them that early. As much as I love everything Lions and everything Amon-Ra, which is the jersey on this shoulder. Look, I have a hard time looking at those Lions players and thinking maybe this is a great pick. Still to this day, I'm never sure.
I would say it's with the first 2 with Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs. It makes sense to me because they're just going to have high opportunities. Sam Laporta scares me a little bit after last year. Sometimes he gets the last guy because those are the 2 that monopolize the underneath and mid range, where Jameson Williams catches the bombs. So I get it, but at the same time, tied into such a high value position, you need someone who can go. I don't want to say who can go nuclear. You have someone like that. That's why I was prepared to take Brock Bowers in round 2 because he's like the one lock consistent. Mark Sam Laporta is as close as you can get with nuclear tendencies, which is why with the same pick, I'm going to take Trey McBride because incredibly high consistency to the point where he was a top 3 scoring tight end with no damn touchdowns all season. Yeah, I think he's going to get touchdowns this season. So
that's a fair point. You know, it's funny because here I was looking at this, I'm thinking I could sneak Breece Hall into my lineup.
You and me both.
Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to after all of that. So you know what? As I'm looking at what my team is, I just mentioned the loss of the Lions OC. Well, guess where he ends up at? That is in Chicago. And Chicago just happens to have a receiver here in the top 5 left on the board currently. And that's exactly where I'm going. I'm going DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is a perfect fit for what we want to see for that team. And you know, Caleb's next evolution is going to be actually hitting those guys. So I got to take DJ Moore.
I do think with Keenan Allen out of the mix now too, I think Luther Burns going to be taking the top off, where I think that's going to open a lot more for DJ Moore to use those route running and yards after catch skills like we saw 2 years ago. So I like that pick a lot here, especially in round 4. And you're getting him with a swing here where you could potentially add something on top if you didn't have to reach for him. So that's a great spot, especially after that run of 4 running backs right after my pick to your pick, where I think we both had in mind I had at least those 3 guys, one of them slipping to me maybe.
Yeah, I was hoping for one. And it's funny, you know, Jared just took Mike Evans and then Chuba Hubbard. Look, Mike Evans, we talked about this every year, the walking 1,010 guy. Well, guess what? He got his 1,000 last year. He didn't get the 10, but he got his 1,000 last year. And guess what's going to happen again this year? We're going to get 1,010 yet again, and Baker's going to light him up every time. So I was hoping that would get back around on the swing.
And by the way, Devontae Smith, speaking of just reliable too, like consistently when he is healthy, a PPR machine, it feels like.
Yeah, you know, honestly, oopsies. I definitely fat fingered that one as I tried to click it. But you know what? I'll take it. That is a guy I'm never shy with taking.
Yeah, as you don't need to be. As we do see after that, we got Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, and Rashee Rice. Surprised Rashee Rice is so high. I felt like there's a chance he might not play this season. Maybe I'm missing something, but you know what? If he does play, he is going to get the ball. That is for sure. So next time up is, as we kind of survey the field, I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot where I have a lot of leeway for different areas I could go. I'm going to go with my old reliable friend, Kenneth Walker. I do think he's going to continue to be there. He will miss a game or two. There will be games where he just doesn't get enough burn, but the high upside is just always there week in and week out.
Yeah, that hurts because that was the fat finger I made.
To be fair, I was looking at Devontae Smith on the spot, so I think we just got the wrong high-low sports account.
DJ, how about a trade after this one? No,
Well,
you know what? It's fair though because it's that round where you have the option of going deep with your receivers, which is where I end up going. Where I have now an opportunity with bye weeks and everything that works itself out. That I now have 3 top tier receivers that I can rotate in and out even with a bye week. Oh, and by the way, we have a flex position. So guess what? My flex position looks pretty darn good right now. But yeah, and then for you, it's a second running back makes a lot of sense, especially considering how last season went with McCaffrey. If that happens again, you still have a solid number 1 running back to carry your load there for your team. So you can get a second one later in the draft that looks really good.
I
Or
want to point
third
out
one.
that O'Marion Hampton was who I was debating with Kenneth Walker, so the chance of him coming back on the swing, I'm missing him just by an inch here. Everything I have in my mind, I'm just misfiring, which is why I like doing these mock drafts for fun. But quarterback, I kind of have been letting it sit here for a little bit, and I kind of want to let it sit a bit longer because there are some options down here, but I'm not going to get greedy. I'm not going to get cute. We're going to take the big show, Baker Mayfield. Tampa Bay, he's just been putting up points. In the 6th round, he's gonna get me 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns on the year. I feel content, and he's gonna give me some 5 touchdown weeks.
Yeah.
It makes no sense how he just sometimes looks like Oklahoma Baker. I'm gonna take my chances with those. And now Emeka Ibuka to add to that receiving core. I like it. So, Kelcey, you were up again as we see Alvin Kamara, Travis Kelce, DK, Jameson go.
Yeah. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did last year. And I'm going to ride with this guy, and I'm going to hope he doesn't do what he did last year, which is Mark Andrews at my tight end spot. By the way, it feels like a steal this late in the draft getting Mark Andrews, but despite the drop in the playoffs, we're going to forgive him. We're going to forgive him, and we're going to give him a chance again to redeem himself this year. But yeah, that's it just feels like too easy of a pick for a tight end there.
Down the stretch last year, he was awesome. It's just that first month, the first 2 months, he was a little bit slow out of the gate. But down the stretch, I
Yeah.
think he was like second as far as tight end touchdown. So it's obvious,
Yeah.
it's always a safe pick with Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and usually tight end I have a pretty good lucky streak with at some point in time. I seem to ride the hot hand at the right time, except for last year. Last year was just I couldn't figure out which way to start Likely and which one to start Mark Andrews for the first part of the year. So you know what, I'm just gonna try with it. I had a backup option there, but I wasn't for sure if I wanted to take it. I'm still not saying it out loud because he has an opportunity to come back around to me. So we'll see what that happens there. But yeah, tight end is just that weird position where you kind of either get it early or you get it where you get chunks of receiver of tight ends coming off the board, so you don't lose one.
I do want to point out too, Team 2 is leaning into the receiving core right now. Like we mentioned, we have the
Yeah,
flex spot, so there's an option to play at a lot of these guys. But at this point, it's almost trade bait. Like you're almost hoping someone will give you a running back from Marvin Harrison. At this point, they're taking best available player to a T as they continue it with Xavier Worthy.
I guess I'm not taking Xavier Worthy now. That's wild. Holy cow. You know what? This position, I'll be honest. I'm looking at this draft pick, and I don't know what to do because I need another running back. That's an absolute guarantee. The problem I have with the running backs is David Montgomery coming off of injury. James Conner is good for the first 4 weeks guaranteed, but then after that, what does he do? Aaron Jones, I already have one Minnesota player. Do I need to get 2? Maybe handcuff that opportunity there? Probably. I'm not going any deeper. I don't like Isaiah Pacheco coming off the injuries last year. I don't think he's going to be the number 1 running back in Kansas City for very long this season. So I don't know if I go running back here, but if I do, I would be going with David Montgomery. But instead, I'm going to go back to that tight end position I was just talking about, and it's going to be Tyler Warren. Again, I don't like take rookies, but man, this is rookie looks really good in Indianapolis. So got to do it.
Not only doubling up on tight end, but doing it back to back. That very
Yeah.
intriguing. As someone who I was looking at him as later down the board as my backup tight end, so I don't blame you at all. And then
Yeah.
you see Montgomery followed by Knicks. How the mighty have climbed for Knicks from last year where he's going undrafted, now 7th round pick. Chris Godwin, James Conner. Leading to my next pick. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go and take Jaylen Waddle. I think it's gonna be a little bit less of the Tyreek Hill show this year, assuming he's still in Miami with the amount of does he want out? Does he not want out? Rumors and trade stipulations, but I think Jaylen Waddle's going to be healthy this year and get some opportunities. We do see back-to-back Chiefs afterwards in Pacheco and Patrick Mahomes go.
Yeah, no, you know what? I don't mind the Jaylen Waddle pick. We don't know what's going to happen with Tyreek this year. So with that said, we don't know what's going to happen with Tua. And when Tua wasn't playing, guess what? Jaylen Waddle was a number one target when he was healthy. So that's the hardest thing is you have to figure out who's going to be playing with Miami. Whether Tua is going to play, whether Tyrese playing, what that means for Waddle if he's healthy, which is the only downside to Waddle in my eyes is can he stay healthy?
Absolutely. And team number 9 is just really making enemy of right now with RJ Harvey coming off the board, the rookie running back for Denver, who sneaky sleeper picks did.
Yeah,
Surprise
no.
ahead, but I
I
kind
like
of
my
also
pick.
need I also kind of need running back in the same vein. I'm gonna reach a little bit. I'm gonna take Travion Henderson out of New England. I expect him to get a lot of burn in that offense because frankly, they need somebody to catch the ball and he can go yard at any moment.
Yeah, I like that pick. This is exactly who I was looking at potentially sneaking here. But you know what? I'm not going to do that, obviously, because he's gone, but also because there just happens to be another running back I'm going to get in a minute. Because I know I could get him in a minute. And that's the crazy part. And so I'm going to look at these backup quarterback situations and I say backup, but in reality, these guys are starters because my flex position's filled, my tight end's filled, my wide receivers are filled. And by the way, I have one of 2 running backs, but my other running back I'm going to wait on for just a second. And I'm looking at this pick for quarterback, and I'm looking at Justin Herbert as why would I not, considering everything they did to get the Chargers more. But also Jordan Love. So I'm going to take Jordan Love because Toyotathon. It's not year round.
He's for your he's for that one section of the seasons where you're drafting him for. Josh Allen will handle the rest. Jordan Love is there for Toyotathon.
Exactly.
So as we do see Tyrone Tracy as the next pick. So we finally got team 2 taking a running back. So they finally are back in the running back bandwagon as Jerry Jeudy going to corner booth Jared in the first slot or the last slot of round number 8. So Jerry Jeudy, I want to see how he really replicates last year for sure because the explosive games with Jameis were awesome. Everything in between was a little bit let down, but you're up, and I'm guessing Judkins and Najee Harris weren't the 2 guys you were looking
No, but I was considering Najee for a second. No, I am going to my former favorite team, and I am pulling their new starting running back, a guy who I've had a lot of success with in past in fantasy. That's Javonte Williams. Why would
at.
I
I
not?
like it. I like
That
it.
offense is built to succeed with Javonte Williams. So why not?
Teams are going to be looking at George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and they're going to be playing a lot of please don't throw on us, which should open up a lot of opportunities. We just see Ridley, Swift, Hunter, and Njoku go afterwards. I like a lot of those picks. I think Calvin Ridley could be a steal,
Yeah.
especially if Cam Ward is better than Will Levis, which I think we all presume he will be immediately. This one's kind of in the same vein because that's where I was looking at. I'm going to go ahead and take a shot with a good old reliable Khalil Shakir. Josh Allen's awesome, and that's his number 1 target at this point. He's going to get opportunities, a lot of yak opportunities. It just makes a whole lot of sense. He's the underneath guy that they just get the ball out too quickly.
Yeah, and he came on heavy at the end of last year, especially. That basically they hit that after that bye week, middle of the season bye week, and it was lights out when you were trying to guard Shakir. Good luck was the best way to say it. When he was healthy, he was fantastic. And that was a great stretch for Josh Allen. So for my purposes, I hope you do great with Khalil Shakir because that means I do well with Josh Allen. Oh, you're muted. DJ, you're muted.
We are heading into the final stretches. We are now 10. We are about to finish round number 10 or start round number 10. So we're 2/3 of the way there. I'm really curious to see where the picks goes. We see Kyler Murray end the round there. So I'm really curious if we start to see a little bit of team fulfillment situations or if we just see, at this point, we're going to take a flyer. Like looking at Brandon Ayuk there. How does he bounce back? Deebo Samuel with a new team. Cooper Kupp with a new team. Curious if this is where we start to see some of those, I don't know, but why not picks? Stephon Diggs with his extracurricular activities. Is this where we start to see him go?
Yeah, let's not have any Odell moments there for Stephon Diggs, please, anymore. No, I know where I'm going this next pick, and I'm going to laugh if it gets upset by somebody. I'm going to be very angry, though.
Well, I hope that I'm not about to do it. So I'm going to just kind of survey the landscape a little bit. And it literally just made the joke, but we're going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk because I expect the 49ers to bounce back in some way, shape, or form this year. Now very well paid Brock Purdy, and that should equate to Ayuk getting some burns. You are up.
All right. I have talked about this ad nauseum. Some people want to get rid of this position in leagues. I don't. I don't ever want to get rid of this position in leagues. Yeah, you already know. Kickers are people too. They are guaranteed points every week, especially when you draft the first kicker. Going Brandon Aubrey because I don't care anymore. No, look, I already have my starting team. I need to get my starting kicker if I'm going to have a chance because kickers do make a difference in kicker leagues. And everybody forgets that, and especially for our leagues, we usually have a bonus for 40, 50 pluses. And easily Brandon Aubrey is the best opportunity for getting any of those.
Well, Sleeper definitely disagree with you, giving it a nice little what the. Definitely an early pick for kicker. But like you mentioned, if you feel comfortable with where you're at and you don't see anybody on the board, you absolutely have to have another position. It makes a ton of sense to just get somebody who is going to start and get you guaranteed points, and you get your guy kicker you want. You're not taking just whatever falls to you. You're getting the guy you want, who more often than not you can count on 10 points from Brandon Aubrey, especially if the Cowboys are healthy, because they're going to score touchdowns when they're healthy, which will equate to points or at least get in field goal range.
Yeah, I get more points from a kicker taking Brandon Aubrey than some players get from their starting receivers and starting running backs.
Yeah, looking at my team last year with all those damn concussions every other week, especially. So we do see corner booth Jared back on the swing as well, taking Quidshon Junkins and Jerry Jeudy at the last one. Just going to scroll up. They'll do a little quick recap of some of the teams. So far as we look at yours, as you mentioned, receiver heavy, running back, you got your two guys, the 2 tight end squad, the 2 quarterbacks. You got a lot of depth rolling. For sure, we're now moving forward. You can kind of like, you know what? I like him. Maybe he'll give me a good week if I pick the right week.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at with this roster, where now I'm just going to be filling in with I like this player and I think he has an opportunity type of guys, and not necessarily I need this guy.
And speaking of which, Cooper Kupp now rounding out round number 10. I'm very interested to see how he positions as expected. Death taxes and Jared taking the Eagles defense as well. So like you took the kicker, he took the defense a little bit early to ensure he gets what he wants. As you are up after Herbert goes to team 2.
Yeah, with everything I say about kickers, I don't feel the same about defenses. That is a position I'm more than happy to get rid of because I have to stream defenses 9 times out of 10 anyways in the season. So I don't really concern myself with a high draft pick on that one. But I do look at these other positions. As I said, I'm looking for guys who I think have an opportunity to have a breakout or maybe stand out this year, or continue, the path in which they're going. And I'm going to go with a guy that I think has an opportunity to continue being a tight end that is notable and worthwhile. I'm going to go Dallas Goedert, and I'm going to add a 3rd tight end to my team because I have 2 flex positions, and I might as well add a 3rd who has an opportunity as a guy who continues to do well. Whether or not he gets traded or not, we'll see. But he's a backup right now, so I don't have to really concern myself whether he gets traded. And maybe he goes to a team like Dallas who could use a tight end.
We had 2 very different approaches to tight end. I wanted to take one in round 2. You just wanted to take everybody else after that so far.
Yeah.
Trying to hoard the tight end room after the first couple going. But
look, some of these tight ends need to be receivers. That's all I got to say is some of these tight ends need a receiver designation. Colton Loveland, I'm looking right at you.
He might not be too far off. But you do have the older veteran, Mark Andrews, the young and Tyler Warren, and Dallas Goedert splitting the differences. We do see Diggs, Steelers, defense. Ricky Pearsall and Ramondre Stevenson go, I'm tempted to take a kicker in defense, seeing how they're going right now, but I'm going to hold off on it. This is around the area where I look at rookies with a high upside that I think could get a lot of burn. We're going to go Caleb Johnson out of Pittsburgh. Running back out of Iowa, I think he's a Mike Tomlin type running back. I can see him getting on the field and down the stretch, maybe earning some more burn.
I like that. I like that pick. And you know what? In Pittsburgh, we know they like to run the ball. You have to in those cold weather games. You have to run the ball. You have to do well. So, yeah, I definitely think he gets an opportunity, especially with Najee gone. There's a great opportunity there.
Absolutely. And Harrison Butker goes from the kitchen to round number 11, rounding it out on the swing pick. So, curious to see now what his season will be like this year. Last year, the Chiefs were very offensively, to say the least. Like their moments were few and far between. So, I'm curious I'm curious how the offense looks this year. If it's a little more explosive, which means more opportunities for him, or if he's going to be basically just going back to giving his speeches, or I'm curious how this is going to play out for the Chiefs offense this next year.
Yeah, hopefully it's Patty giving the speeches and not Harrison Butker giving speeches anymore. Not that those are much better, but one is slightly better than the other, I guess, in that situation. And for that team, I do hope that Patty is the one doing better and not Harrison Butker, because if it's Harrison, they're not going to be doing great at that quarterback position.
In the same vein of how you took tight ends, I'm kind of looking at it. I'm just like, Colson Loveland would be very fun here. Same with Tucker Kraft, for no other reason than I don't have to worry about somebody else getting them, even if I don't necessarily need them, because I feel really good with my tight end spot. But I'm in that same vein. I'm going to take Tucker Kraft to absolutely exploded down the back half of last year, and for no other reason than this means I don't have to deal with him, and it gives me that bye-week versatility or matchup versatility.
I like it. You know what? I don't necessarily like Green Bay's tight end situation, though, I will say. But I do like the idea of taking him. I'm torn right here as I go to this position as you mentioned, rookies or young players with high upside.
Do you want to get Colston Loveland here?
No. I kind of do want to take 4 tight ends, though. I can't lie. But not right here. I'm looking at the wide receiver position, and I'm bouncing back and forth between a rookie and a guy who's coming off a pretty good season in New Orleans, who might continue to make a name, but doesn't have necessarily a quarterback that we trust. No offense, Chris. But as close as it can get. I think I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka, though, out of Tampa Bay. As soon as my app lets me draft, that would be. But maybe not. Oh, no, I'm not going to be able to draft him. Oh, there we go. Here we go. All right. Emeka Egbuka is where I'm going for Tampa Bay. As we talked about with Mike Evans, he's a walking 1,010. Well, Emeka Egbuka is going to take the number 2s there. So that's where I'm looking at is Baker loves his number 2 receivers. So I'm going to take my chances there as maybe a flyer in some weeks.
Not gonna lie, I was hoping that your app would crash and that he'd be able to come back to me on my swing pick too, because I was going to pair him with Baker Mayfield. But that's great choice. I think if any of the younger receivers, he has a very good opportunity just from pure targets alone. Since it is a PPR league, I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities. Just gets open, just makes plays. Not overly explosive necessarily, not a big high weight speed guy, but just finds a way to get open and be productive. As we're getting ready to round out round 12 and go into round 13, there's some very interesting names still on the board here. I'm looking especially at CJ Stroud, who I'm surprised is still here when last year he was going in the first 3 to 4 rounds. And I think he's going to have a better year this year than last year, but I do think that rookie year got everyone a little too hyped fantasy-wise because he had those couple of 5 touchdown games, 400-yard passing games. When you look at the season net total as a whole, he wasn't the most outrageous fantasy quarterback, if that makes sense. Yeah. Awesome quarterback, but fantasy numbers-wise, I think this is almost overcorrecting this year over the overswing last year. I think after this year, we're going to get a good gauge of where he'll normally go. I think this is an overcorrection. He should have gone before Caleb Williams and Brock Purdy, most likely.
I'd even say before Jared Goff, who was taken earlier as well. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's definitely one that I'm surprised he's still there. I'm honestly like, do I need a third quarterback conversation in my head? That's where I'm at with it, where maybe I do, maybe I don't.
You need Jake Ferguson next is what you need.
No, I definitely don't. The thoughts crossed my mind. Tight end is the hardest position for me because I want to take all of them, and I also don't want to leave any of them behind. And I do love leagues that do have 2 tight ends and a flex because that makes it 10 times better for me because I can do the 2 tight ends and then run a flex to wherever I need it.
And time's going to run out. As speak of the devil, Jake Ferguson is going to go to corner booth Jared as the time runs out. As we're waiting on the 2-minute clock goes for him. But I also want to take a look at another position here for us. I want to look at running back, where this is where I feel like these are the flex plays that you can get any given week could be awesome, or the one injury away and that you got an RB1. Looking at Zach Charbonnet specifically, Kenneth Walker's due to miss a couple of games a year.
Tank Bigsby.
Awesome. I picked during those weeks. Rico Dowdle in Carolina. Chuba Hubbard's the main guy, obviously. Jonathan Brooks, unfortunately, looks like he's out for another year. Maybe Rico Dowdle will get some burn in there. Rashad White last year was a second, third-round guy because of the PPR machine until Bucky Irving. Your boy Tank Bigsby in Jacksonville is ETN on the way out. There's some Cam Scattaboo. We all know Cam Scattaboo. So there's some very interesting opportunities here. Running back still on the board.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm actually looking at running back as my position, and once Jared makes his pick or the computer makes his pick for him, I'll talk about who I'm thinking. But I do think this is a position where we've seen so many breakout running backs who come in and filled in for a game or weeks or multiple weeks or half a season. Isaac Rindo's in here. You also have Jordan Mason in here, who we both know from San Francisco last year when CMC went down. Are you looking at any of those to maybe handcuff, have a backup for in case CMC does go down, which I had to do last year?
Arthur Smith's favorite player, Tyler Algier.
Yeah. Tank Bigsby's one where you saw ETN go down last year, and he was a number 1 option, a legitimate number 1 option, ranked in the top 20 when he was actually playing. And then ETN came back, and Tank Bigsby was still getting number 1 touches. And so it's like a situation where he was ETN was worked back in, and you had Bigsby taking the brunt of all of that, and so you saw him succeed. So this is where you look at guys that you think you have an outside shot of doing something with, and that's the bigger position for me, where I'm like,
come on, dude.
me especially, where I look at it and I need it.
Absolutely. As we do see a timeout. So CJ Stroud heads to corner booth Jared, as well as Colston Loveland, team 2. And you won't get the 4 tight ends here necessarily unless you have something else in mind, but you are up.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about Tank Bigsby and Cam Scatabo. Those are the 2 guys where I look at as my 2 opportunities. You took Kenneth Walker, and I do like that pick of going Zach Charbonnet to kind of prevent you from doubling up on them potentially. But I don't think I need to waste the position on potentially a Kenneth Walker, who is a top 10 running back when he's healthy. And maybe he's healthy all season, so I wasted a position on Charbonnet for an entire season, where I could take this as a guy like Tank Bigsby, who I think is going to get great opportunities because, as you just said, ETN, does he stay? Does he go? We don't know. But Cam Scatabo is like a bigger opportunity of all of these because he's probably getting red zone touches, where Tyrone Tracy is not going to get red zone touches in this situation. So that's where I'm going. I'm going Cam Scatabo here as an opportunity for a young rookie. As much as I said, I don't like taking young rookies in early on in drafts. Well, I guess it's 13 rounds, so not early, but I've now taken 3-4 rookies now where I normally don't take any.
So we do see after that, Dak and Justin Fields, Kyle Pitts, and then Zach Charbonnet, 1 pick before me, so I won't get to have my nice little ace in the hole there.
Shout out Team 7.
Yeah, it looks like you spoke it into existence, which throws things a little bit off for me, but I do need a backup quarterback as we take a look. I have Baker Mayfield, and that's it. Sneaky pick, surprise pick for me this year that I think is going to be really good. Keep an eye out for our NFL predictions because this might ring true there. We're going to snag Drake May as the backup quarterback. I think there's going to be some opportunities for him there, and I think that defense is going to be much improved, which will get him more chances as well.
I like that. I didn't think you were going Drake May, but I do like that pick. I do think New England's going to be a safer option for a lot of maybe not top tier fantasy players, but a mid tier level fantasy player. I think that's a great opportunity. But I'm not looking to find a whole team out of New England players. I don't think I can do that, but I do think this is a situation where you can easily get some solid backups.
Look, he clearly has a receiver 1 right now. He is dealing and he's ready to go. Plus, I like Travion Henderson at running back. I think there's some opportunities there. And there's always going to be quarterbacks in free agency that slip through, like Matthew Stafford, Bryce Young, Tua. So if something catastrophic doesn't go right, I feel like the backup quarterback is something I can replace too. But I like to take the flyer on somebody who, if he has a good week on, he's gone right away. So now I'm in the last couple of picks. This is where I'm going to go kicker and defense. It's tough because I look at defense too, and I'm in the same vein as you. I'd love to have a great defense, but at the same time, I'd almost prefer matchups in a lot of cases too. So I'm going to go with kicker, and well, I know who I'm not taking on this one. That's the guy without a team. So I'm going to go ahead and lean with Evan McPherson. I don't love it. I'm not. You know what? I lied. I'm taking Jake Elliott for no other reason than he's going to get PATs when they get in the red zone.
That's fair. You know what's funny is I actually would have probably gone with Kaimi Fairbairn right there, just because he gets all the opportunities to kick field goals. Misses some, but he gets all the opportunities in the world. As you said, I don't need to take a kicker because I already did that. And that's why I love taking a kicker early too, is because these last 2 rounds I can really take a real flyer. And there's a guy, I already have his quarterback. I don't see why I don't take him as a receiver who seems to have come into camp healthier, more ready to play in the NFL with a stronger body. I'm hoping he doesn't go the way of a Kelvin Benjamin with too strong of a body, but I'm going with Keon Coleman here as a potential opportunity where it's maybe not a high option, but he's not a low option if he starts going off week to week, because I can easily stuff him in the lineup, and now I'm getting touchdowns thrown from Josh Allen and touchdowns caught by Keon Coleman, and that sounds a lot better to me.
I think while we talk about Shakir's going to get a lot of those underneath opportunities, those intermediate routes, I think Keon Coleman could be the guy that gets those down the field targets. One-on-one, Josh Allen scrambling around. He doesn't like it. He just puts the ball in the air so Keon Coleman could dunk on somebody, which is kind of an ideal role for him. I can see him stepping up here. Into the last round, and Kelcey, your final pick of the draft is here available. You have your kicker. Do you take the defense here, or do you just completely ignore it altogether?
I'm ignoring it. Honestly, I really am. And it's not like through a lack of caring. I end up streaming. I have 2 or 3 defenses that I rotate in and out all year, and it never fails. As much as I love to try to keep a defense, I've never been able to. So I'm going with a guy here. This goes in a deep flyer role. This is a rookie who I think is going to be great, but necessarily isn't going to play on my team immediately unless he just starts going off. Oh, man, I'm rethinking this as I'm saying it out loud. But you know what? We're going to do it because I think it's going to be fun. We're going to find out. I'm going Cam Ward. I
You know,
think, I
that's
think,
a cool division. So
yeah. And also, look, it prevents anybody else from doing it. And nobody else is going to have the Cam Ward experience if he goes off. And I'll have the Cam Ward experience and the Josh Allen experience. And if Josh is going off, or not going off one week and Cam is, guess what? I reap the benefits. Whereas if it's anybody else, I'm sorry.
you know, reasonable thoughts in at this point too. It, like you said, it could be trade bait if worse comes to worse too.
Yeah.
Maybe something happens and you have 3 quarterbacks and someone really could use one they don't like the other guys available. But so we're now in the part where defenses and Jordan Mason go. I'm going to take a defense. Well, I still kind of like what Seattle brings to the table defensively. I do like Mike, but round year number 2 with Mike McDonald, but I'm still scared about that offense. I'm scared that they're going to be the defense is going to be on the field a little bit too often. So I'm going to go with all reliable. We're going to take the New York Jets, who is not dealing with Josh Allen. I like them most other weeks. And like I said, I'm going to be streaming and defenses in and out a little bit here, but I do like the Jets with Aaron Glenn leading the way as a potential boom or bust any given week.
Yeah, I like that. And, you know, as I'm looking at this as the free agents for defenses, I already know who I'm going and picking up. It's going to be New England. I'm going to pick up the New England defense immediately. And I'm going to probably look at the San Francisco defense as a streamer with them and just rotate in and out as I need to, because there's going to be defenses that people drafted that are going to get dropped and I can easily pick them up. So yeah, there's always a defense that ends up in the top 5 that's never drafted. So that's always the why I don't care.
Exactly. Like a defense, I feel like that's, if you're going to ignore a position, that's the one to ignore. But this is our very first mock draft. Once again, be sure to let us know which team you thought got the best out of everything in the comments below. Was it me? Was it Kelcey? Was it a bloody CPU team? Or is it one of our esteemed guests who was nice enough to join us along for the ride? We appreciate them and you all for checking out this mock draft. And remember, Belly Up Fantasy Live football starts next week on the Belly. You'll want to catch it on Belly Up's YouTube and Twitter and Facebook pages. Every week, up-to-date fantasy content from our good fantasy director, Vince, as well as a group of esteemed established young men who know a thing or two about fantasy football. And then our hooligan selves will occasionally pop in here or there as well to contribute. But I really like my team. When our actual draft comes in August, if I get something relatively close to this, I'll be relatively content, at least until the season starts. Then I'll be angry, most likely. But as of right now, I like where it's looking at here. And I don't think there's going to be a team 2 where they go 5 receivers in a row, then 3 running backs in a row. That team's pure chaos, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, they have 5 receivers and 5 running backs, and I don't know what to do with that. Like, I have 5 receivers, but I also have 3 tight ends, 3 running backs, and a kicker, and 3 quarterbacks. So I'm like, I'm not necessarily as like concerned about the running back position, but I'm looking at them waiting to drop one of these running backs who maybe goes off because they need to get another position. And I'm like, I can scoop that up. You know, that may be where I go.
I just like how I feel like my team hit the versatility part. I got like 4 running backs, 5 receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks. Like I feel like I hit the balance perfectly, and I don't feel like I reach for anyone, so I feel good about that. Teams 7 and 9 really took the guy I want at least 6 times over. So when we do our official drafts, I hope those 2 people don't ever show up again. Granted, they're CPUs, but I hope they never show up again. But let us know down in the comments what you all think of our first, but certainly not our last fantasy football draft. And be sure to check out Belly Up Fantasy Live every week leading up to and through the football season, so you can win your fantasy league and hopefully bring home some cash or trophies from your different leagues. But that's going to now round out the main event, which is now going to take us into Kelcey's favorite part of every show. And that is none other than crunch time. And for crunch time, we're gonna take a different approach to this one. Is that it's going to be a story that's 2 things that we talk about relatively frequently, but normally not together. Is we're going to head to the baseball diamond, but we're going to talk about a baseball brawl, if you will, as mayhem at a college baseball game in Greenville after a batter's celebrations resulted in ejections, where coaches and a mom in the stands all got involved, featuring the Mercer Bears and Sanford outfielder Michael Gupton hit a 2-run homer. And you know what? We could just take a look at some of the different pictures here that go with it. Mom got involved too. Like, what a very unique stories. We also, let me scroll back up here so we can take a look at it. Making his way around the bases, appeared to shout something at some players before touching home plate. Then the shortstop was just not feeling it whatsoever. Makes a beeline before being held back. Member of the team's coaching staff gets involved. Just insanity that you normally don't see on a baseball field. And you know what? almost amusing to me a little bit too, because we joke about basketball players, they don't fight, they just pretend to. At least baseball players, they're ready to throw hands. I'm glad nobody got too far out there, but it's very interesting to see that all the talk about baseball, we're like, no bat flip. So it's a very traditionalist sport. And then something like this kind of almost leads to a brawl. So Kelcey, I'm kind of curious on your thoughts as you brought this one up to us earlier.
Yeah, this one is hilarious. So I actually was watching the highlights of it on Saturday night, and this was in the SoCon semifinals, so the game before the championship game. And Sanford, who is, by the way, in Birmingham, Alabama, and then Mercer, which is East Georgia in Macon, is two teams that you don't necessarily think of when you think of powerhouses, but they're kind of that sub tier of D1 colleges that aren't like Power 5, aren't Group of 6, that are still really good when it comes to baseball, because they get a lot of guys that don't go to your Power 5s and everything, who are trying to make their way in the league. But this is one that I loved this story when this happened, because Mercer, in response, by the way, to all of that drama from the Sanford player talking all the smack, pulled their team off of the field. So for 30 minutes, this game was delayed because Mercer refused to enter the field until there were ejections. The shortstop, a pitching coach, and then a player for a coach and player for Mercer, the shortstop for Mercer and a coach were ejected immediately. The mother for the shortstop for Mercer was ejected, which is the most hilarious part to me, because look, if my baby's gone, I'm going with him, is basically what I just saw. And then on top of that, later on in the game, there's another two players ejected, or a player and a coach ejected, and a coach was warned, as was a player warned, for actions on the field, which to me is absolutely hilarious, because that just goes to show you how important these tournaments are for these teams. And you don't see it covered anywhere else. This is honestly, how many people even saw this story? I doubt there's a lot. The fact is, I love this because this pops up on AL.com and things where I'm obviously from Alabama, so I get a lot of those notifications still. And it is hilarious when I see something like this where you just talked about it. It's a traditional sport. You don't talk smack. There's unwritten rules. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't do anything. Well, the thing I find hilarious about this is the shortstop actually started by talking smack to his own bench as he's rounding first base. The problem was he continued it around second, and the shortstop didn't like it, so he started jawing at him, and they actually, went toe-to-toe essentially. And then the shortstop, the hitter, continued around the bases and was talking smack then to Mercer's dugout, who was also talking back to him. And that was the part where I'm like, guys, if you just let him talk smack to his own bench, it wouldn't have been a problem. He's the one getting ejected. We're done. This is an end of conversation. We're done. Mercer's shortstop got butt hurt. Mercer's head coach got butt hurt. Mercer's pitching coach got butt hurt. And so now you have a whole team being pulled off. And it's just like, guys, baseball is the most dramatic sport when it has nothing to do with the actual sport being played. It just has everything to do with talking smack and jawing and having fun. It just seems like nobody likes to make baseball fun anymore, as Bryce Harper used to say. And it's moments like this, you do see somebody go a little too far. I don't agree with the hitter, and I don't think he should have talked smack to the other team. But I don't hate the fact that he was talking smack to his own bench. Like, get up, this is my show. Like, yeah, that makes sense. But then you don't talk smack to the other team. But yeah, no, I thought this was crazy, and I needed to draw attention to it in some way, shape, or form. It's just one of those wild situations where you don't see it very often, and especially at the college level, you really don't see it. And that was the part I was like, this is amazing.
Absolutely. And most importantly, too, I am glad that nobody got hurt, especially today. It's more fun because I have someone like break something or get seriously hurt or something, then it stinks. But let us know in the comments below what you all think about this unusual story, a baseball brawl that, make baseball fun again. I think that is the simple part of it, but within reason.
Also, just read more into the story. There were 5 other Mercer supporters that were ejected beyond the mother. So by the way, the mother got thrown out because she stepped onto the dugout roof. Well, so did other supporters. So that's why they got thrown out, which is just, look, you can't say baseball doesn't matter in the South, because this is this literal Southern Conference champion or semifinal game, and they are getting thrown out. So yeah, absolutely amazing situation when you consider that there's no injuries, no actual fists were thrown, and you still had more people thrown out of the game when you consider supporters than you do if there was an actual fight on the field.
That's true. Exactly. Absolutely. But be sure to let us know down below what you all think of this. And once again, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of the High Low Sports Podcast, a longer one because we had ourselves that nice, fun fantasy draft. We once again appreciate you all for joining us, and we will see you all again next week.